Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today my friends at Lux Auto Concepts here in Shreveport, Louisiana have loaned me this 2020 Cadillac CT6 V for the day. And we're going to take a close look at it, talk about the features, the horsepower, what you can expect if this is something you want to pick up. Now, at this point in 2020, I know there are probably a lot of people that are thinking, you know what, I think I might wait until the 2021 models come out. Now, this car has been produced from the 2016 year model up through 2020, but that's as far as it's unfortunately going to go. 2021 will not see a return of the CT6. And basically, there are a couple of reasons for this, probably more, but it ultimately comes down to supply and demand in the United States, as production has basically already stopped. The plant where this particular car has been built over the years is going to be retooled to build the electric Hummer. So after 2020, there won't be a 2021 CT6. That is, unless you live in China. Apparently this car is popular enough in China where it is going to continue to be produced there. I guess essentially that comes down to supply and demand.
In the interest of fair reporting, the color seen on this particular CT6V is obviously not a stock color. It is a wrap called brushed metal that was applied at Lux Auto Concepts. The CT6 competes with the Audi A8L, the BMW 7 Series, and the Mercedes S-Class. The starting price on the CT6V is $94,895.
So if you're looking for a high-performance luxury sedan, this might be something you want to consider purchasing. And when we get it out on the road for a test drive in a little while, I think you might be very impressed by how it runs. Of course, being a larger, heavier vehicle, you have to look at the speedometer, or at the heads-up display in the case of this particular model, and you might be a little surprised at how fast you are actually going, because it doesn't actually have that feel of acceleration that some other vehicles might. Something that's kind of common to a full-size vehicle like this, but trust me, you will know you're going fast, but it may feel less than what it actually is. What's under the hood of this model? There are a couple of noteworthy features I would like to mention concerning the hood, one of which being that, of course, if you watch me on a regular basis, what would be my favorite feature found under the hood, other than the high-performance engine? Well, it's the struts that help open the hood. That is always a welcome feature on any vehicle. Now, last week in my most previous video, I did the video on the BMW M4 Heritage. And everything that involved a latch in that car, whether it was the door handles or the latch to open the hood, you had to pull twice on those to get them to open whatever it was you were trying to open. The hood on this CT6V is the same way, and I like that because of the fact that when you pull on that hood latch twice, as you can see on your screen, it opens the hood to a point that you don't have to go looking for a hood latch. It is already released, and all you have to do is pick up on the hood, and of course the struts will automatically raise that for you. One of those features that I know would drive the price point of vehicles up a little bit. I don't think it would be that much. I haven't looked to see what that actually costs. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen for you. But I'll tell you what, I would sure like to see that on a lot more vehicles, at least for those of us gearheads who do open the hoods on our cars.
The engine found under the hood is a twin turbocharged 4.2-liter V8, producing 550 horsepower and a whopping 640 foot-pounds of torque. The engine is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and gas mileage comes in at 14 miles per gallon for the city and 25 miles per gallon out on the highway. A couple of noteworthy changes for the 2020 model year of the CT6V, including last year's rear seat package having been discontinued. But the previously optional driver assist package is standard for the 2020 model year. However, one glaringly absent feature on the CT6V is Super Cruise not being available. And with the available active chassis package, every wheel drives and steers the CT6V. And with the magnetic ride control, the suspension is instantly adjusted within milliseconds, depending on what sort of road you are driving on, offering exceptional ride quality and handling.
Okay guys, the cargo space here in the CT6 is 15.8 cubic feet. You have a couple of different options for accessing that, one of which being a button right here above the license plate. There's also a button on the inside of the driver's side door. You can use your remote, or you can simply wave your foot under the bumper here and the motion sensor will automatically open the rear trunk. And of course there's a button here to close that as well, and you can use the other features I mentioned to close the trunk in addition to opening it. As you can see, like I said, 15.8 cubic feet of available space here. There are a couple of bags of golf clubs here, and of course there's enough room for a Tom to fit in the trunk as well. Apparently my little practice is starting to catch on. I'm not the only one doing that anymore, as you can see on your screen. So one thing that I did not mention earlier when we talked about the performance numbers on the CT6V was the 0 to 60, which is 3.8 seconds. And that's not bad. That's actually very impressive. Like I said, you can't necessarily feel it the same way in this car, not only because of its sheer size, but also because of the fact that, well, it's a little bit heavier than a Corvette or a Mustang or whatever high-performance vehicle you may want to compare it to. But that also means you're going to have a smoother ride. A lot of great features are found here, and let's start with the back seat. The average size adult, and even someone who's above the average size, is going to be very comfortable. The back seat is very roomy. You've got your dual air conditioning vents, and you've also got some shades on the windows, on the side windows, and a rear window shade also that you can raise or lower at will. So that helps out back there if you're wanting to stay a little bit cooler. You also have a panoramic sunroof or moonroof, depending on which you want to call it. And so you can use that. You also have shades for that as well that you can open and or close depending on what you desire. And while it's not truly, maybe I shouldn't call it panoramic, I'll have to look and see what Cadillac calls that, but you have two separate windows basically, or two separate moonroofs, and so there is a little bit of space between those two. So there are two separate shades for those, but they are there if it's something you so desire. And when it comes to the front seat, you will find a lot of great technology, very simple to use infotainment system. That's one thing, GM has one of the easiest infotainment systems in the industry that I think you'll find. Multiple camera views that you can use here in the CT6, and you also have the rear view camera or the camera mirror. So if you wish to use the rear view camera mounted above the license plate, you can use that on your rear view mirror instead of the more conventional way that most of us are used to. And you know, that does take a little bit of getting used to, but it's not too bad once you're used to it. It actually gives you a much broader view than what you would have from the more conventional view of the rear view mirror. And then of course you have multiple driving modes, mentioned that earlier, but I'll actually show those to you now. And you can toggle through those, and it is a little bit of a strange placement on the button that you use to toggle back and forth, at least in my personal opinion. It's right in front of the shifter, kind of on the left-hand side here of the console in front of the shifter. A little bit of a strange placement there, but that's where it is. And obviously that's not going to change since GM is not going to continue making this car in the future. The instrument cluster, very easy to use, very easy to read, I should say. It looks very nice and modern, and you can make some adjustments and changes on that. You have steering wheel mounted controls as well that will allow you to go through a lot of different pieces of information on the CT6, depending on what you want to do and see. And by the way, one thing that I want to tell you about, you do have the seats that will vibrate if you start to move out of your lane to the right or the left, and it's going to let you know on which other side that's going to be. So a very nice feature, something that, again, if you're not used to that, it might get your attention the very first time you experience that. One thing I do want to share, that I don't want this to sound like a put down or an insult to Cadillac, but honestly, the shifter paddles on the CT6, well, they just don't seem to really work that well, and they're not super responsive. It almost seems like they don't even need to be there, but they are if you want to shift manually in sport or track mode. But that's up to you. But just so you know, it is not as responsive as what I've seen in other vehicles, even other GM vehicles. So just something for consideration, but not something that I would say would be a deal breaker if this is a car you're interested in purchasing. Now that we're cruising down the road just a little bit, let's give it a little bit of gas and just see how it goes. One thing I'll say for sure, you know that this thing is loaded with torque. It really picks up and goes. And like I said, if you're not used to driving something like this, you know, somebody who maybe isn't used to a high performance vehicle is maybe going to notice a little bit more about the speed and acceleration, but when you're someone like me who's used to that, it's hard to explain the difference. You don't feel the speed necessarily, but you can definitely feel the pull of the torque from this engine coupled with the 10-speed automatic transmission. It is a lot of fun to drive, and honestly, if you're looking for a really fun combination of a luxury vehicle that is large, that's comfortable, that really glides over the bumps when you're driving down the road and be a lot of fun to take on a nice long road trip and keep you nice and comfortable, but yet you want something that will get up and go without a problem when you want it to get up and go, this is definitely the car you want to consider purchasing. I just can't say enough about how much fun it is to step on the gas pedal and put it on the floor in this car. Definitely not hurting for power by any means. One thing that is missing that I wish was here, there's no launch control. Okay guys, I said there was no launch control here in the CT6, but let's get as close as we can. We'll just foot brake it. Honestly, that was a little bit of a disappointment there. It really kind of bogged down a little bit. I don't know why it did that, but once it took off, wow, did it ever take off. That was cool. I have an assignment for all of you who are watching today's video. If you own one of these or plan to own one, tell me about it. What color are you going to get? And if you already own one, tell me about your experiences. Are you stepping out of maybe another vehicle that is in this class, such as the Mercedes S-Class, and stepping into the CT6? Very curious to know. If you haven't subscribed to my channel just yet, guys, I would really appreciate that. We've got a lot more great footage like this coming, and it helps me so much if you enjoyed this video to hit the like button. It basically tells YouTube they should put this video in front of more people. And like I said, leave me a comment whether you answered the questions I asked or you just want to tell me you were here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I will see you next time on Vehicle Visionary.